it does feel like we've seen a rise in aviation incidents. So we're joined in studio by Captain Raphael Wamwati. He's the director for the Kenya Association of Air Operators. Let's talk about the safety of the Kenyan air transport sector. Karibu, Captain.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you in studio.
And good morning to everyone. I've been in aviation, active aviation, for 21 years. Made my way up to co-director at Twin Star Aviation, which is the airline that we run with my partner, and a director at Kenya Association of Air Operators.
Right.
And we have been dealing with advocacy since 1967. So we're 58 years old as an association. And what began as a conversation between a few airline companies has actually picked up a national association where we look at regulations, where we look at advocacy, where we look at the tax brackets for aviation companies. And we also look at making aviation safer. And of course, you always, unfortunately, learn from mistakes, but that is what has been keeping aviation systemically safe to operate.
Because we do say, like, anecdotally, no, I think it's scientifically proven. Flying is the safest means of transport.
It is.
And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But before we go into the conversation, Jano will share a quote with you. We usually start the day off with a quote.
Yeah.
So you say what it speaks to you, if it makes sense, if you're agreeing with it or not.
If it resonates with the industry that you're in.
Okay.
Patrick Awa from Ghana once said, "You cannot reform what you refuse to audit." You cannot reform what you refuse to audit. Yeah.
That totally resonates with aviation because, one, aviation is audits. And it is the highest regulated industry and career in the world. So every system, every screw that goes into a plane is audited. There's a certificate for everything that goes on a plane. Every seat that you sit in an aircraft, even the jump seat, they're all tested, they're crash tested, drop tested, fire tested, and they're rated, they're certified for that. So everything that goes in an aircraft, that tube, as it were, is actually tested. Even the small aircrafts that people, as they say, the stereotype, is on the Sasa Wilson.
Literally, that is the stereotype.
That's a stereotype.
Yeah, but even they are audited.
They are
and tested.
audited. And the civil aviation and the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority is our regulator, and they've been actually doing quite a good job at auditing and ensuring safety. There's also a organization which is the Aircraft Accidents Investigation Department, which is part of the Ministry of Transport. And it always gets information, data, and always publishes it. And now it comes up with now solutions and recommendations following the standards and recommended practices of the ICAO. So
there's regulation. Can we start with what's just happened?
Yes.
This unfortunate incident, and maybe use that as a way to give us the status of safety in the Kenya aviation sector in Kenya. Would you rate it as safe? Do you feel like, nope, there's red flags that we've been ignoring for a while, and they are essentially leading to this and this incident? But how would you rate safety generally?
Okay. First of all, my deepest condolences and prayers goes to Mombasa Air for their team and all the family members affected by the unfortunate accident. We cannot say there's a lapse. No, we cannot say there's a lapse. It is unfortunate that once in a while, or once in every blue moon, there is an accident, and the plan is to always alleviate and extract any errors that can come by. So aviation safety works on a Swiss cheese model, where a Swiss cheese, there's different layers of redundancy, fail-safe. So if any layer is compromised, it
There should be
aligns
another.
the whole. So you could have 7 layers of defense against an accident. So it really takes you to align every layer of the Swiss cheese model for the whole to come, for the light to come through, and at the end of the day becomes an accident. Like I said, it's very unfortunate what happened yesterday, and the investigators are on site, as we know, and we'll wait for the preliminary report. However, you're not a seesayer. You cannot predict the future.
Right.
Pilots are rigorously trained and audited as well. There's the word again, audit. There's annual checks. There's your medical checks that you really need to go for every year. And after 40 years, you do it twice a year. There's your written tests. There's also annual crew resource management, dangerous goods handling, aviation security, that all the crew have to go through. And on top of that, you got your pilot proficiency checks that you have to go through. So every time there's always something that you're working towards. So you're always proficient, you're always in your toes. And before you get to the cockpit, and before you get to fly any passengers, you are actually certified that you've gone through the rigorous trainings. I knew the captain myself personally, Mutai.
Our condolences as well.
So he was a straight shooter. He was a good guy, and he knew his stuff. He had wealth of experience. But then again, incidents are not completely avoidable, but they are scalable in terms of you can totally avoid, and there are moments you cannot avoid.
Right.
I'll give you an example. I did a talk last year in Dubai, and the students were very, they're very savvy. They know all the statistics. So one came to me and said, "Captain, I know all the statistics. And by the way, your chances of dying in a fatal crash is 1 in 11 million. Yes, as opposed to 1 in 107 incidents in the road.
Right.
1 to 11 million.
Oh.
That is an MIT study, yes. So the statistics are there. You can see aviation
is
it's
the safest mode of transport.
It is. But the student came and said, I still feel my palms sweaty, and hoarse throat just before takeoff. And this is now culture versus the reality. Yeah. So, but we're getting into
it's also like just the psychology of it, which is like, being on the ground makes sense.
Yeah.
Movement on the ground makes sense. Your legs move on the ground, so a car can move on the ground. When you think of, I can't fly, why can this metal box fly?
Yeah.
It'll
You go down that rabbit hole.
It's an illusion of control. So
Right.
so you
Illusion
on the
of
road, you have the sense that even if someone's driving, you can be like, hey, stop driving. Like
slow
that.
down. Yeah.
Even in a matatu, guys will make noise at the driver and say, hey, unaendesha vibaya, you know. In a plane, you're completely
at the liberty of the team.
Yes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I want to go through some of the incidents we've had this year, and you gave us like a nice breakdown.
Yeah.
So some unfortunate fatal accidents in 2025. 28th of October, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
The Mombasa Air Safari, that was a Cessna Caravan C208 with 11 persons on board, and of course all were pronounced dead.
Yeah.
There was also another incident of the AMREF flying doctors plane that happened on 7th August. It was a Cessna Citation XLS, and of course all 4 persons on board unfortunately lost their lives. That happened in Kiambu, in Mwihoko. Again, on 8th March 2025, the Kenya School of Flying plane operated a Cessna C-152, and with 1 person on board who was a student doing a cross-country solo trip. And that was also fatal, unfortunately. A privately owned Cessna 185 Skywagon also crashed on 30th of January with 2 persons on board. All unfortunately passed at Kedong Ranch. 10th January 2025. So January alone is, at least 5 lives lost. Near Malindi Airport, this was a Cessna C-172 with 3 persons on board. It was from KAC Aviation Engineering. Now, there was also a few more incidents, including one at Malindi Airport, one at Wilson Airport with a training flight, at Reteti Airstrip in Namunyak, at Olmalo Airstrip and Suswangong area. These all had little to no injuries, minor injuries.
That's right.
When we have 5 fatal aviation incidents in the first 3 quarters of the year, would you say that's below or above the global average, given our population and everything else?
Given the population and given the expanse of aviation in Kenya, we are actually at average worldwide. As you can see, that is 5 fatal, 5 non-fatal, and even like with the training flights that happen, you know, the instructors are always on board unless it's a solo student, which you have to. It's a
At some point they have to fly.
It's a rite of passage,
yeah.
yes. And before you're set on a solo flight, the instructor knows that you are able to conduct the flight for entirety of the flight, your takeoff phase, your cruise phase, and your landing.
Right.
It's also worth a note that most accidents happen during takeoff and landing phases. So it's moments after takeoff, during takeoff, moments after takeoff, just before landing, approach and landing. And then now ends with runway excursions, where an aircraft, you know, goes beyond the runway,
Right.
either because the runway is wet or there's aquaplaning, you know, with snow. And those are things that you are highly trained in the simulator to avoid, but sometimes, as fate would have it, it just happens. But this is literally, as statistics show, 1 in every 100,000 takeoffs that there's an incident, not even an accident. The training that goes on in the schools, especially in Kenya, has actually become more rigorous. My first flight was in 2002 for training, and we were many guys waiting to go to fly. But now, before you even go to fly, you know, you've got your psyche is also examined just after German wings, right? Not every pilot goes to a plane and says, "I'm going to crash today." You know, no one wants that. I think the most people who love their lives are the flight crew. Yeah, they don't want to die, and they also don't. And then it's a heightened sense of responsibility.
Right.
When you see the flight crew walking in the airport with the uniforms and the caps and all their badges, it's something that they've actually earned, because it's more or less you've taken an oath to take care of the lives that you're carrying. So over the years, the training has become rigorous. The regulations have become more rigorous. Yeah. And also the equipment has become more tech savvy. The improvements that have come with the aircrafts that we have now is way more than it was before. There's something that the ADSB. So ADSB in aircrafts means that you can actually track it on flight radar now, if you know the registration of the plane. So there's now the redundancy of vigilance. Aviation is very vigilant. So we learn from our mistakes. Like that solo flight, you know, there's always that redundancy of vigilance. So everyone will be, there'll be flight following. From the moment you take off, from the moment you start your aircraft, you're talking to the ground tower to request taxi and all that. Then you get to the control tower for takeoff. They take you off. You take off. If you're flying visually, you're given to a control center that you can fly visually, although there's an unmanned frequency for places that there's dead zones in the area. But you're given to area control. When you're going now into instrument flight rules, when you're going to, like, say, cruise level 35,000 feet, you're now given to either Nairobi South or Nairobi North control. You're always handed over
to someone.
And when you cross the border, you're handed to Dar control, Dar es Salaam, or Ethiopia control.
Whichever country.
Exactly. Or Entebbe control. So if there's so there are 19 annexes in ICAO, and Annex 12 is...
You have to slow down. We can't just say annexes and ICAO. We need
ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization, and they have come up with annexes that govern aviation. So every country, every sovereign state of the ICAO follows those 19 annexes.
Right.
So Annex 12 is search and rescue, and Annex 13 is air accident investigation, aircraft accident investigation. So Annex 12 is search and rescue. So if that layover, going back now to the handover process, if the plane has not been handed over to a certain waypoint and it reaches a certain time, normally they say 45 minutes, but nowadays if you don't get a blip, if the blip disappears off your radar, you're sounding the alarm. Someone's hitting the big red button. That's how now vigilant
we've become. So I hear you, and I like that there is this much vigilance, and there's so much going on. You see planes take off and land, and it's a regular thing. You're in it, but you don't understand how much work is going into it. But then there's also some, I would call them like worrying developments when you hear about in aviation. One is cost cutting at the cost of safety, because it's not really an industry where you can cut costs. I mean, where you can cut corners, actually, let me put it like that. You can cut costs perhaps, but not cut corners. So we've heard, like I was saying, I've seen documentaries on how huge airlines are cutting corners sometimes, and then leading to safety incidents, and in the worst, sometimes whether it's training or things like that, it can lead to fatalities and to crashes. How big a problem is that, and how does the world, like ICAO, is it ICAO? Yes. How does that regulate an entire world of aviation, as opposed to now just KCAA, which is dealing with Kenya? Okay,
so ICAO now sets the master plan, and you've got contracting states of civil aviation in the world. So each country has their regulator, which is KCAA. I don't know if you watch National Geographic Air Disasters, Air Investigation, Air Accidents Investigation.
My brother loves it, and I just usually what are you watching?
It should scare you a little bit, but then again, it shows you how much it is put in, and how much the cause and the solution and the mitigation afterwards. Yes, you would say back in the day people would cut corners, like some failures you'd see in the 80s and 90s. Some engineers, on a part like a control surface, that's what you control the plane with, either ailerons or the vertical stabilizer. You can, if one person decides to put maybe a different material, or you fabricate it in a workshop, and it doesn't meet the standards, maybe it needs a titanium steel bolt.
And you're using, I don't know, copper.
Exactly. Or titanium sheet, and you use steel or aluminium. It cannot stand the forces, and you've seen other accidents happen when icing has formed on a control surface and it can't move, and the pilots lose controllability. That has since stopped because, as I told you, each part now that goes into a plane comes with its own certificate. And that makes it very expensive. So how people can actually reduce cost is doing overhaul as opposed to buying new. Right? You can do an overhaul, you can do co-exchange.
So you exchange aircraft between airlines? Or
no, you exchange parts for like overhauled parts for other parts. Let's say your landing gear, right? After every so many landings, you need to overhaul it or put new or exchange. So what the manufacturer does is say, okay, we can do a core exchange because we don't want you to ground you. Bring your core,
your old part,
and we'll give you ours, right? And it'll be discounted off what you give us, and we will overhaul this one, ready to give another person. So it saves money as opposed to buying a whole new.
But the quality is still
it's maintained. It's maintained because the overhaul is literally put in new equipment and new parts. Yes.
Yeah, because there's also been anecdotally using older parts or Kenya getting either older airplanes and older.
I was going to go into the older aircraft. Yeah.
Because then that's what we hear. I don't know if there's data on it, but you'll hear that the country is receiving these airlines, which are since outdated in other countries and continents. Oh, we're supposed to go into a break.
Yeah.
We're at 2 minutes to 8:30. We'll come back and speak to that. And then similarly to what Mariam asked is, okay, so is it human error? Is it maintenance? Is it equipment? What is the biggest sort of like gap when it comes to the airline and aviation industry? But we'll be back, of course, with this conversation coming up to 8:30, fixing the nation one conversation at a time. We're having, before I even get to the feedback, because our fixer talked about mental health, pilot fatigue and wellness of crew members, is that something that is on the rise in terms of pilot fatigue, and what kind of mechanisms are in place just to make sure that those who are catering to us are also being looked after?
I'm very glad you asked that, actually. So there's the FDP, which means your flight duty program, or your flight duty time. So your duty starts an hour before the flight and it ends an hour after your flight. So basically, you've left your house, you've started prepping for the flight, from your takeoff to landing, and then getting to your hotel room or to your bedroom at home. So duty time is really keyed on in all the aviation companies. And in Kenya, the CAA really looks at it. It's part of the audits. That are your pilots busting their duty time? So you are restricted to about 105 hours every 28 days of flying, right? And so once you get to 100 hours, there's a system in every company. Every company has their own system, but you get to the red zone where you get to 105 hours, you're grounded until you've rested and recuperated, and then you get back online. And that is very, very closely tracked. Actually, that's one of the closest tracked systems. And also in crew resource management, pilot fatigue and rest and recovery is taught at a very high level, and each company is scrutinized with a big magnifying glass on that. So now, more than back in the day, you are now looking at it, and there's now safety management systems where there's mandatory reporting. There has to, even the crew themselves can go to the regulator, or they can come to us as the association. And being the association, Kenya Association of Air Operators, we actually represent 95% of the air operators in Kenya. So the voice is there. So even the crew, if any pilot feels that they all know, they're all taught before they get their pilot licenses from PPL to CPL to ATPL, they're always taught about their crew rest and recovery, and it's always sensitized. If you feel that you're being overworked or there's fatigue, you report it immediately. Another thing, in every airline or every operator, they know if a pilot wakes up and says, I'm feeling fatigued, that's it. They're fine. They can't go. They get the day off. So pilots are taught not to abuse this,
right.
But because every day they could be feeling fatigued. But it's been a good standard, because any company, you cannot penalize a pilot for saying I'm fatigued today. If a pilot says I'm feeling fatigued,
trust them and give them some time.
Exactly.
That's important, because I wondered whether that could be a factor. Some feedback.
Okay.
Most of the accidents this year involved Cessna aircraft. Why? That's Jose. He also goes on to say motor vehicles undergo inspection for roadworthiness. Is there similar regulation to inspect aircraft worthiness within a certain duration? Okay. Then the Kikombe says, I worked with a pilot turned educator. One of the best lessons I learned from them is that when there is an air accident or incident, no matter the brand, all pilots chip in to try sort out the problem. Okay.
So we'll start with, it seems like from the 5 fatal incidents that you've mentioned, and even some of the others, it's a lot of smaller aircrafts and specifically Cessnas. What's happening there?
Okay, so here's the psychology behind the paradox. Just like if you think of aircraft, you say Boeing. If you think of small aircraft, you think of Cessna.
Cessna, yeah.
Cessnas have so many aircraft models that they've manufactured. It's one of the biggest manufacturer in the world of aircraft. From trainers to private aircraft, private owners, you just want to fly your family around, you got the money to afford it, you'd probably be getting a Cessna. Pilot training, Cessna. Cessna Caravan, which has been one of the most successful aircrafts, which is a single-engine aircraft, is actually it's being used right now all over the world, and FedEx have the highest number of Cessna Caravans, with at least 140 in the air anytime. And
FedEx just delivering things, mail. I don't know, packages.
Exactly. Okay. And in Kenya, going into the bush trips, you've got Cessna Caravan. Yeah. They're perfect for the gravel strips, the short runways, the places you cannot reach with the road. It's just unfortunate that it's a lot of them. Like, there's so many Cessnas around, and in terms of ratio, it's still not an alarming rate. Okay. But it's just either it's the branding or the marketing, or the car in front of you is a Toyota, plane in front of you is a Cessna or a Boeing. Right? So and that's the
That's, all right.
This, what he said about he commented about, I worked with a pilot turned educator. One of the best lessons I learned is that when there is an air accident or incident, no matter the brand, all pilots chip in to try and sort the problem. Speaks to sort of the camaraderie and the, of course, the what is it called?
Sort of like the community and the unity.
Yes, that happens in the aviation sector. Walk me through what happens post-incident, because I'm threading from, for example, in the medical sector, I've seen great change happen, like in Homa Bay, for example, when they had high mortality rate for postpartum mortality rate, and so all doctors in the county would get together if any incident was reported of postpartum mortality, and they would figure out what went wrong, how do we fix it, and as a result, they had, I think they're now at over 120 days or 130 days without an incident of that kind of magnitude. So what's the equivalent in the aviation industry?
So I'll give you an example. One memory that lives rent-free in my mind, which will be here, I think, for the rest of my life, is the most recent crash for the AMREF flying doctors, our brothers and sisters in the flying doctor family, which we knew personally and were family friends, and the memorial service, the Kenya Association of Air Operators was there with the whole team. All 98% of the pilots that were not flying were there. If you were not there, you were flying, or sick, or fatigued. Yeah, we cannot excuse, we
fatigue.
Don't. Yeah, so everybody was there, and that is the camaraderie that everyone brings in. Aviation being highly regularized, you know how much it has taken for you to get where you've gotten. A friend of mine just got chief pilot the other day, and everyone was accolading because he knows the journey that it has been to get to where it is. Yes, maybe you don't go to university because you're going to flight school, but getting your airline transport pilot license is an equivalent of a master's towards a doctorate in aviation. It is tedious, it's rigorous, and you're taken through the works, and it's case hardening or cold setting in steel. So when you lose one of you know how much you've lost in the industry, because this is someone who's actually gone through the ropes and they've made it, and they become captain, or they become a senior first officer, or flight attendant, or flying doctor. Yeah, flying doctors are also a set few, right? And everyone knows, wow, we have lost such. They're heroes, for lack of a better word.
Let me ask, just before we move on, that same question, but now from the fix element. Like, there's the investigations that do go on, but as an industry, do you sit together to figure out what could have gone wrong and what's the fix?
100%. Everyone in their own groups, they will always discuss what could have gone wrong. How could we have sorted this out? How do we fix it? And some solutions actually come in many ways, where now you get like a team effort, and they say, we actually have this program that we've been using to track pilot rest periods and crew scheduling and all that, so that you cannot have someone missing their child's events through and through and through. They'll not be. They'll be quite disgruntled. So there's many ways of how we get together as groups and actually discuss it in your various places, in your social gatherings, or we always now have, as KAO, we always have now Kamukunji that we set up at least once or twice a year. And all the aviation stakeholders actually come in, and we share in this as the investigations still go on.
Continue.
And still on the investigations, though, you might say yes. Are they as transparent? I feel like, I don't know if we often get updates of, actually, this is what happened in this flight. Even the one that you've just spoken to, that really tragic one of AMREF, even this one that happened yesterday. Your view on just whether the investigations are thorough enough that the public is also made aware of the findings. Do you feel like they're thorough enough, or do you feel like more could be done?
Definitely there's room for improvement.
Okay.
But I'd give you a case. The MH370.
Still
the 777. I think that will be, and we're privileged to be part of this history. It'll be the biggest mysteries that we'll ever face in our lives. People still don't know what happened.
We don't know what happened
to
that
the
plane.
Strangest thing.
How
I've
many
watched
years has it
countless
been, actually?
since 2014.
Yeah, a plane of that magnitude.
11 years.
To go missing.
Just like that. Will show you how vast investigations have to go. And obviously there's also AI coming up. There's many ways of now trying to figure out what went wrong, and it can only be safer. And I think the reason for me being here is just to reiterate and encourage people that yes, aviation is actually quite safe, and it can only get safer. That's the reassurance that we hope to pass along.
The question, wait, it will escape me. Your memory is better than mine.
Go ahead.
Still going back to, I'm trying to, and I'm glad Captain is giving us a really good understanding of the industry. I'm trying to link recent news updates and trying to think through if there's any effect on the industry. There was the aviation, there was some members who went on strike. So I want you to give us any insights as to whether their issues were addressed. What was it that was kind of, why did the strike happen? Why were members on strike? Number one. Number two, whether we have any outdated systems, whether it's air traffic control, that you feel also, this needs to be updated, or we run the risk of either being behind in regulation, or these could also interfere with safety. So let's go to the workers' strike first and see whether there are any core issues that, whether it's pilots, whether it's crew face, that they were striking against, and then we can go to some of the outdated systems.
Okay. So with pilots, they've got the CALPA Association of the Airline Pilots, and they've set their own, as an association in their own right, standards that this is how much a pilot should be paid, and this is how much crew rest period should be given, and. When that is not met, then someone is at right to make noise. And also with the other aviation workers, the ground staff, and everyone, if they have been promised by whatever body that employs them that by this time you'll be getting this package and you'll be getting this benefits, and it doesn't happen, guess what?
They're going to strike.
Someone's going to make some noise.
From what you're hearing, do you feel like that's become something that you're concerned about, that their needs are not being met, or is it sporadic?
No, not really. It's sporadic, and I think with the recent one, it didn't really kick off because they sat down and remedied it almost immediately, because you can imagine losing radar control in the air. It's not a joke, right? So that was remedied, and I believe there's remedies coming in more and more, and now we've got the State Department of Aviation and Aerospace Development, which is newly set by the government, headed by Principal Secretary Terry Baker. So that now focuses fully on aviation, and that is a big plus, and we as the association are very, very happy with it, and we welcome it. And we've actually started making moves quite visibly towards that. So that's a good thing, because transport is huge.
Yeah.
And aviation is huge. You can imagine in transport, road transport, the tour van drivers are like, we're being charged this much to enter the gate fees, and, you know, the fuel is this much, and, you know, it's tough, and the roads are not being fixed.
Yeah.
But guess what? Those Wagenis, how are they coming here? By air, right?
Yeah.
They're all coming in by air. It is very, very critical, and it is very key. So we're very glad that now there's a new arm of aviation that we're working close by. Yeah.
I had...
Oh, then there was air traffic and communication systems.
Yeah.
Are they outdated? Are they up to date? And if they are outdated, what are some of the risks?
Once again, I have to say there's room for improvement.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's been no miss in terms of radar following or flight following.
Okay.
However, with the new department, you know, this now will look into the improvements
Of the systems,
Yeah,
okay.
We're looking into new hip. The president said we need to move from third world
Thinking. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah, sorry,
First
Mariam,
of-
go
And
ahead.
aviation is in the
Yeah.
forefront of that.
I'm just thinking about the KCAA's capacity. How do we build its capacity to further oversight? First of all, speaking honestly, is the KCAA adequately funded and staffed to do its role of oversight? If not, what can we do? And even if they are, then, you know, how can we improve their oversight capacity?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. So, as the association, as KA, we usually sit with the KCA and KA, tripartite industry affairs, and we had one earlier.
So that's
this
Kenya Airports Authority, Kenya Civil Aviation Authority,
And the
Kenya
operators.
and the operation. Okay.
Yeah. And so we had an industry affairs meeting earlier this week, chaired by Mbuvingunze, our chair. And these are the questions we asked. So how is the KCA coming up? And we're also asking how are we doing? How can we help in Team Kenya, you know? And the CA actually is making moves, and you'll see in the papers they're actually going to advertise for more staff. They're digitizing the system now. They're going off paperwork.
When you say which aspects of it?
Okay, I'll give you an example. So if a pilot needed to renew their license, they had to do this much of paperwork. You know, you had to go do your medical, you get your medical certificate, 3 copies. You go, you do your logbook, you file, you do your math, you do how much you've flown. If you ever got to busting your hours, you know, with a 105 a month, you know, you do all that, you calculate paperwork, scan, give 3 copies as well.
Okay. Just a
and
lot of
all that. So now there's an ICAS system which is linked to the e-citizen. So you log in, you put all your
This is one of
digitally.
the 15,000 services on e-citizen.
Yeah. But this one has actually rolled off and it's working. So that now has reduced the paperwork. And all that manual going through, it has literally just made it more efficient. Pilot licenses, my God, if you saw the previous ones and what they have now, it's night and day. We have now digital cards. It used to be a booklet.
Yes, I've seen the booklet. So now it's just like it's now like the new driver's license.
Yeah, it's your new gen license, and they're rolling up to make it even more, you know, to chip it. So now you have all your information.
Progressing gradually.
Exactly. So there'll be little to no, you know, you can't fool or forge some of these things. Yeah.
Steve Dolo asked the captain to take the viewers through the process of importing critical aircraft parts, clearance at customs, up to deliver to the hangar. Okay. I don't know how much you can summarize that.
Then there's another question.
You don't have a lot of time.
We have like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
Then there's also a question on how much does it cost to do basic pilot training in Kenya? Just say it's a lot and the figure always shifts. Don't ask me how I know. How much?
You know things.
I just know things. But maybe begin with importing the aircraft parts.
Okay.
The process, like critical aircraft parts. It was becoming a tongue twister.
And thank you, Stephen Doloff. Importing critical air parts. Now, when an aircraft is critical, that means either the aircraft is on ground and it's not flying, or it's flying, but there's a critical part that needs to be sourced. So most often than not, an aircraft is on ground, hence making it critical. So you start with an AOG order. So you have your approved maintenance organization, your AMO. They're the ones who now order the parts for you. So they contact the manufacturer, be it Textron, which makes Cessna. So the manufacturer says, yes, we have this part, and they ship it directly AOG. So it's tagged AOG, aircraft on ground. So it gets priority shipping. So it gets to Kenya. And it gets, whether DHL, FedEx, comes to Kenya. And now the agency or your clearing agent now takes it to the KCA. You have the KCA will give a certificate that, yes, this is an aircraft equipment that is then zero rated in tax, because in Kenya or in the world over, aviation and aviation parts are not taxed. So, and in Kenya, thankfully, that is not the case. That is the case as well. It's zero-rated tax, and that's one of the things that Kenya Association, advocates for completely. So, once the CA clears it that yes, this is an aircraft part, and then it's then taken to the workshop in a bonded warehouse or store, and now the engineer picks it up, assesses it against a certificate, installs it, and signs it out.
Okay.
The cost of basic pilot training in Kenya?
Okay, so basic pilot training, you take it as private pilot license, that's your PPL. It's on average about 100 hours. It's 50 hours, which is about 1 million shillings now.
To get
it's
to
not cheap.
And
Okay.
it's usually
As
charged
CPL
in
now.
dollars.
Yes.
So then that million shillings might change.
You might want to work with $10,000.
And a private, I like that. That's, I think, accurate. The private pilot license allows you to fly yourself. Does it allow you to fly anyone else?
It can, yes, but not for hire or reward. You can fly your
for
friends,
leisure,
family,
Okay.
If you want to show off to your someone you're
To your person.
courting, exactly.
Someone you're courting. I have a quick question. It was going to be around things to do with, anecdotally, turbulence and poor visibility, whether that's a real factor. But also if a passenger has an issue that they want to report, whether it was a pilot's behavior, whether it was concerns over excessive turbulence, I don't know. Is there a space or a line that somebody can just be like, I want to report something, I just wasn't sure.
So any passenger that flies all over the world, you know the airline that you're actually going to fly with, right? So phone the airline, tell them, I didn't like the way these pilots acted. We've seen pilots actually getting fired for showing up drunk, right, in Nigeria the other day. Both captain and first officer were visibly
inebriated.
Yes. So, and a passenger flagged it. So
and one, I think, abroad, but this was before they boarded. Was it in the US?
That was prior. And this was just the captain alone.
This was just the captain alone. It was flagged beforehand, and they were like, you're not going to kindly keep your drunkenness outside the cockpit.
And kindly rewrite your resume.
And kindly rewrite your... Oh, my God, because you're not keeping this job.
It's like that Denzel Washington movie, but it should only be in movies, not... flights.
It should only be in movies.
Right.
So the thing for turbulence and... climate change being a factor in how
I see
flights
what you did there.
I know.
So you cannot avoid turbulence.
Yes.
It's really not avoidable. There's equipment in the aircraft. You've got the weather radar, which shows you turbulence in storm clouds and any building turbulence, and you can also visibly see. But also there's CAT, clear air turbulence.
So it's clear
air, clear skies, blue skies.
But still.
You're having your cup of coffee or glass of wine, and and you're like, these pilots,
it does nothing to do with the pilots.
It's also a stereotype.
It's also a stereotype.
You just have to ride through the turbulence.
Is turbulence getting worse? I've seen recent cases of extreme turbulence. I saw
that's actually what I meant to ask. So she's asked it well.
Extreme turbulence, things that I've not seen before.
Well done, guys.
Well done, guys. In about a minute, to wrap up.
I think some regions the turbulence is increasingly getting more statistically, like the Bay of Bengal and other regions going to the Southeast Asia, whether it's tropical revolving storms or climate change, it's sometimes, and especially on some times of the year. Unfortunately, as you go into Christmas or December, that's when the turbulence hits the hardest. So if you're willing to go to Vietnam or Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, as they call it, you better watch out.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's good to read up about it.
Yeah.
Last, we are completely out of time.
Yes.
AI and the future of aviation.
Yes.
In like a minute, 30
Okay.
seconds if you can.
Okay, so AI is the way to go. We need to go with the times. It's already being studied. Like I quoted MIT a few minutes ago. They're looking into how AI will help in improving aviation in terms of efficiency, equipment, tooling, but not really replacing the flight deck crew.
Of course not.
Because humans are to psychology. And psychology is, I want to know that there's a human behind those controls.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
We're not ready for like self-driving
Yes.
planes.
Okay.
We have to go on a break now, but thank you so much. That is Captain
pleasure.
Raphael Wamwati. He is the director at the Kenya Association of Air Operators. We were discussing Kenya's safety as far as the airspace is concerned, and I think we've gotten some really, really good insight. And of course, we do send our sincere condolences to the families and friends of those who lost their loved ones in yesterday's crash in Kwale. In the next hour now, we'll be discussing different matters. We're taking a complete tangent. Hapa ni maneno sasa ya redundancy in employment, how to navigate it. We'll be in studio with Ambrose Waigwa. Hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV. We'll be right back.